Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go over my review of Smackdown, but it's going to be a little bit different than usual. Not a lot really happened on Smackdown that was really that important, besides the main vocal point being that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson ended up showing up on Smackdown. So we're going to talk about that today. My thoughts on that. Where do I think WWE and The Rock are going with this? And especially the speculation leading up to the Elimination Chamber, and what I possibly will think the outcome will be when it pertains to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the Elimination Chamber matchup leading into this year's WrestleMania. So, leading up to SmackDown on Friday night, there was a lot of speculation going on that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was, in fact, going to show up on SmackDown to make some historic announcement. What that was going to be at the time, nobody knew. But when the Rock came to SmackDown, he came out to the ring, grabbed the microphone. He announced that next year's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 42, will take place in New Orleans, in the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. WrestleMania is returning to New Orleans. I think it's a big deal for New Orleans. A lot of historic WrestleManias have happened in New Orleans, so that was a big deal from them, having WrestleMania in New Orleans. But a lot happened with The Rock, man. Like I said, The Rock announced WrestleMania returning to Louisiana. He started singing When the Saints Go Marching In. Then he also mocks the crowd. Rock then calls out Cody Rhodes. Rock says that the fans love Cody. Cody then acknowledges the fans. Rock then praises Cody Rhodes. Rock then talks about TKO and the fact that The Rock is on the board. Rock wants Rhodes to be his champion. Cody says that he is the people's champion already. Rock promises a great future for Rhodes. Rock says that he always wanted a brother. Rock says that he doesn't want Cody's Universal title, but instead he wants Cody Rhodes' soul. So, a couple things about this, man. Number one, it was great to see The Rock. And I mentioned this now for the past couple of weeks when it pertained to both Raw and SmackDown, that the road to WrestleMania this year seems kind of slow. That there's not a lot of excitement leading up to this year's WrestleMania. You know, there's been some, I wouldn't say issues leading up to WrestleMania, but there's been some, whispers down the lane, if you will, about this year's WrestleMania. As far as the hype, as far as the lead up, the build up towards this year's WrestleMania. We're roughly about 9 weeks away to this year's WrestleMania. So, a lot of fans, a lot of people were, kind of crucial on the fact that ever since the Rumble, WWE has kind of took their foot off the gas pedal and pretty much been pumping the brakes here for the past couple weeks ever since the Royal Rumble. And honestly, I'm on the same boat. I know there was issues with Gunther. I know Gunther had made comments about this year's WrestleMania on the fact that he didn't want to have a match with Jey Uso. And it seems like he's really, really stern with that he doesn't want to have a match with Jey at this year's WrestleMania. Now, how much in detail that goes into, I don't know. I know it's been rumored and speculated that Gunther is not too happy with having a matchup with Jey at this year's WrestleMania. That he wanted a more suitable opponent than Jey. Looks like he doesn't have a lot of faith in Jey Uso, for what I understand. But Jey already pretty much cashed in his opportunity. He won this year's Royal Rumble for the men, and he cashed in to go up against Gunther at this year's WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight title. And rightfully so. He's earned it. It's the one guy that Jey seemingly can't get a win over. And what better way to possibly get a win over Gunther than at WrestleMania and become World Heavyweight Champion? For me personally, I'm all for that matchup. But the biggest wild card in all of this, and I mentioned this for the past couple of weeks now, was Rhodes. Ever since Jey made the announcement that he was going up against Gunther at WrestleMania, the biggest question that I had was what's going to happen with Rhodes at WrestleMania. There's no way that you're not going to have Rhodes being the Universal Champion not a part of WrestleMania weekend. There's no way. So then, obviously Elimination Chamber's coming up March 1st. The winner of that matchup will face Cody Rhodes for the Universal title at this year's WrestleMania. But there are some heavy hitters in this year's Elimination Chamber. You got Damian Priest, you got Drew McIntyre. You also had the likes of John Cena and CM Punk. Now, I mentioned this last week where, when it pertains to the Chamber matchup, there could be a lot of things that could happen in that Chamber matchup that could set up something more than just a concrete winner for Cody Rhodes leading up to this year's WrestleMania. Now, I mentioned this last week, that it could possibly be something on the lines of that we get a double pin where, John Cena and CM Punk, in fact, pin somebody in that matchup, and, or something on the lines of that where they both end up somehow going to WrestleMania. A lot of people that I've talked to believe that it's a very good chance that we can see John Cena versus CM Punk night one, and the winner of that match will be the new number one contender to Cody Rhodes' Universal title. Now, there's been a lot of people that are saying they don't want John Cena versus Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes is almost the embodiment of what John Cena used to do in WWE. He's got the same schedule. He's carrying this company on his back. He's pretty much a company guy for WWE. The same thing John Cena was when he was in his prime. There's also CM Punk, and a lot of people are pointing the finger towards CM Punk, that this might be the summer of Punk, and Punk carries the Universal title. And Punk has made it, relatively known, and he has told Cody Rhodes that he is not going to stab him in the back, and that he's going to stab him in the front. Punk knows, he wants Cody Rhodes to know that if he wins that chamber, he's coming right at Cody Rhodes directly. There's no, cheap shots. There's no beating around the bush. It's, hey, if I win this chamber, I'm coming after you in that Universal title, which I respect the hell out of Punk for doing that. But there's a lot of, up in the air right now. A lot of it's going to come down to the chamber. A lot of stuff for Cody Rhodes will be pretty much what the outcome is going to be for Elimination Chamber. To me, honestly, if they do a number one contenders matchup night one between Cena and Punk, and the winner of that will face Cody Rhodes night two for the Universal title, I'm all for it. I think it's a great decision if they decide to do that. Punk obviously gets his main event match regardless at WrestleMania against John Cena. And then obviously if Punk wins and beats Cena and faces Cody Rhodes night two for the Universal title, it's a win-win for CM Punk. On the other side of the coin, you look at someone like John Cena. John Cena right now, he's returned to WWE. This is his last, hurrah, his farewell tour. And, there's a lot of, that goes with that. Right now, he is chasing number 17 to become, the first ever 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, beating the current record right now that he is tied with Ric Flair being 16-time World Heavyweight Champion. It's a huge accolade for Cena. If he was able to go to WrestleMania, challenge Rhodes, and beat Rhodes, and become the 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, it's a huge accomplishment for John Cena. I know a lot of people, and I might be on an island all by myself on this. There's a lot of people that do not want to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania for the Universal title. I'm not going to sit here and, say they're wrong. I'm not going to say that. The reason why I want to see the matchup between Rhodes and Cena is because practically it sells itself. Hands down. There's even been a lot of people saying that, Cena might be around for Money in the Bank. He'll win the Money in the Bank and then cash that in and become, 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, and that he will break that record, just not at WrestleMania. That's a tough sell for me, man. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this is WWE's biggest show of the year. Biggest show of the year. Every single superstar on that roster looks forward to having an opportunity to wrestle at that year's WrestleMania, no matter what. And it's a synonymous event in pro wrestling. So, with that alone, and the fact that John Cena is chasing the historic 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, I just, if they're going to pick Cena, I would have Cena versus Rhodes at WrestleMania. It just means more. It's a special night. And to be honest with you, I think it's something that, needs to be well televised around the world, being that it's WrestleMania, because everybody wants to tune into WrestleMania, no matter what. So for me, I'm on an island all by myself. I wouldn't mind seeing John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I think it'd be a hell of a matchup. But I'm not also against seeing CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. I think Punk, ever since he's returned to WWE, he's had some great matches. Most notably, he had that matchup with Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell, which was an absolute banger of a match. Those guys tore the house down in Elimination Chamber. And so far, it's been CM Punk's best match in a long time. So there's also that option as well. The curveball in this as well, in all of this, is The Rock. The Rock showed up obviously on Smackdown, telling Cody Rhodes that he's not there for the Universal title, that he's there for Cody's soul. The Rock threw a humongous curveball into all this shit. Because a lot of people are genuinely pissed off on the fact that we're not going to see Cody Rhodes versus The Rock at WrestleMania. Because there's some unfinished business there between The Rock and Rhodes. And a lot of people were pissed off when Raw debuted on Netflix, and you see these two guys that were some of the the biggest rivals leading up to WrestleMania 40, and I mean literally hated each other. I mean, you had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson beat the shit out of Cody Rhodes outside his tour bus, outside I think it was either Raw or Smackdown. I mean, beat the hell out of Cody Rhodes. And to see, when Raw debuts on Netflix, that these guys are backstage hugging it out and sharing some tequila and sharing some old stories about when, their times in wrestling and, their dads when they wrestled with Soul Man Rocky Johnson and the American Dream, and shared all these stories, and now they're best of friends. A lot of people are pissed because they wanted to see a matchup between Rhodes and The Rock. And to be honest with you, that match would have sold like sliced bread. Also, there's a lot of people that still want to see and are still clamoring for an opportunity to see a matchup between Roman Reigns and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And that match has been, heavily speculated and rumored for a while. Now, could that match still happen? Yeah, it's a possibility that match could take place in New Orleans for WrestleMania 42. We had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson versus Roman Reigns. It's also another possibility that that matchup could happen. I think ultimately, this year's WrestleMania, there's a lot of confusion, to be honest with you. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people that, there are certain superstars that don't want to have the matchup against a certain superstar, like I mentioned earlier with Gunther and Jey Uso. Gunther's not really too happy with wrestling Jey at WrestleMania. Then you had the rumors of possibly Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania. But again, nothing's locked in right now. So we roughly got about maybe 9.5 weeks leading up to this year's WrestleMania. And the build-up and the excitement's just not there. And then, like I said, when you see The Rock showing up on Smackdown, yeah, there was some excitement, absolutely. Obviously we get the announcement of WrestleMania 42 being in New Orleans, which is a big deal. It's a great crowd down there in New Orleans. So that was obviously a big deal. But, there really wasn't nothing coming from The Rock that was really hinting at a match with Cody Rhodes or Roman. And mainly, the main thing was The Rock wanted Cody Rhodes' soul. He wants Cody Rhodes to be his champion. And then The Rock wants an answer from Cody at, the night of the Elimination Chamber. So I don't know how this is going to play out with The Rock and Rhodes situation. Again, a lot of this is going to come down to the Elimination Chamber for Cody Rhodes. I could possibly see something on the line, like I mentioned earlier, that we could have a number one contenders matchup at night one of WrestleMania. It could be Punk versus Cena, and the winner of that will move on to night two to face Cody Rhodes for the Universal title. But like I said, man, I think there's just a lot of confusion leading up to this year's WrestleMania. I think, there's been some curveballs. Absolutely. And I think The Rock, unfortunately, right now, he threw a huge curveball into all this. And it's one of those things where, yeah, I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But, for me, honestly, at this point, I'm worried. I'm worried for the build-up and the excitement leading up to this year's WrestleMania, man, because it's not there right now. We got the excitement leading up to this year's Royal Rumble, and like I said earlier, man, after the Rumble, it's just like WWE took their foot off the gas pedal and started slowly pumping the brakes a little bit, and I don't know why. I have no idea why, and to be honest with you, and the fact of the matter is the other reason why we're not getting excited for this year's WrestleMania that much is because we're not seeing those household names being shown on TV as much. Those being John Cena. I mean, I know Cena is shooting a movie right now, and obviously his time is tied up with a movie, so we're not seeing him on either Raw or SmackDown leading up to at least Elimination Chamber or WrestleMania. There's no build up towards that. We have not seen Roman for a while. So I don't know what's going on with Roman. We haven't seen CM Punk in a little bit either. I know CM Punk wasn't on last week's Monday Night Raw, if I'm not mistaken. So we're missing some key players for both Raw and SmackDown to pretty much hype up WrestleMania this year, and we're not getting that. And I think that's also a big reason why the excitement factor is just not there right now leading up to this year's WrestleMania. I'm not saying it's not going to get there, but they got to start putting this into overdrive, man, and really start getting fans, invested in the WrestleMania this year, because right now I just feel like it's a slow burn right now leading up to this year's WrestleMania. It was great to see The Rock. I'm not going to sit here and say that, seeing The Rock wasn't a bad thing. No, I think it was a great thing. But it also threw a lot of confusion into the mix as well. What is the deal with The Rock? My thing is I joked when I watched it, because it went from The Rock being The Rock to The Rock almost turning into Papa Shango, telling Cody Rhodes that he's not there for the Universal title. I'm here for your soul. I feel like that's a page in a Papa Shango's book, in my opinion. So I don't know. It took an eerie turn there real quick towards the end of that segment between Cody Rhodes and The Rock. So again, man, I don't know how this is going to play out. I really don't. I think Elimination Chamber, is going to be very interesting and very telling, to be honest with you. And the outcome of the Men's Rumble is also going to be very, very telling, especially when it pertains to Cody Rhodes. Absolutely. And, we still need an answer from Rhodes. Is Rhodes going to join the likes of The Rock and be his champion? Or is Cody Rhodes going to tell The Rock no? You know what I mean? We don't know. A lot of people are even saying that, because of the situation, we could see, some heel turns. Maybe CM Punk. People are already saying John Cena might turn heel. It's one of those things, man, where there's a lot of confusion going on. And, hopefully we get some kind of definitive answer of what the hell's going on here. Hopefully after the Elimination Chamber, we get some kind of concrete answer of where in the hell WWE is going leading up to this year's WrestleMania when it pertains to Cody Rhodes. But with that being said, this was kind of my review of SmackDown, also giving you guys my thoughts on the Rock and Cody Rhodes situation. But I hope you guys are out there staying safe, be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.